Well, I guess that was the go signal right there. Hey, I want to thank everybody for coming in, and I want to say before I get started with a few things I have to say that nobody gets anything done by themselves, and we've got a great administration here. Some of them are here sitting at the desk with me, and couldn't get the stuff done that we have gotten done without all of their help, and I'm very appreciative of them. So I'm going to start off with probably one of the first things that I personally got involved with was the Community Engagement Committee. And it was real important to me to try to do some mending in our community. And so I had reached out to people who did not support me when I ran and people that did support me. And I was hoping that they could come together as a committee and have some events for the public to come together with. And I got to say that they've done an outstanding job. They've got the Saturday market. They've done the Super Bowl party. Those are two big, well-attended events to bring everybody together. And it's kind of a little bit of a funny story. I won't say any names, but I called, first person I called happened to not like me very much at that time. And I talked to her and I said, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And she was very polite and nice to me on the phone. And she just said, why are you calling me? And I said, well, it's because you don't like me. And so I'm hoping to change your mind on that. And here's what we're trying to do. And I'm so thankful that she said, all right, I'll accept that assignment. And she's made a big difference to this committee. And I really appreciate everybody that's in the Community Engagement Committee because their heart is in the community and they're trying to do things to bring all of us together, which is quite a task if you happen to look at Facebook at any time on that. So anyway, I want to start off with, we're going to go over some things that have been done since I've been in office. We've got Ricky with us, Becky, and Sarah. They're gonna also speak. I figured you guys didn't want to listen to me talk all the time. And we got our city administrator, Scott, on here, and our fire chief, who I appreciate immensely. He's done a great job on that too. Thank you, Brian. All right, so one of the early things that we started was a Veterans Pocket Park. And this thing was a really good sign of what can be done with people who want to come together and help out. It was done with volunteers, and our VFW group was involved with this thing, and it was a nice touch for the beginning of that High Dune Trail on that. So we've had some, well, one thing, if you haven't been out there, please go out there when the weather's not too bad and check out the bench that was donated. That was carved by one of the local wood carvers here. He did a great job on that, but everything was dedicated and to our veterans on that. We've also added 9 wood carvings around town that I think has helped dress it up. And I think that part, at least to me, was really important. And with Sarah, she was very involved with all of this, was to kind of dress up the town. So when people come in one year and they spend some time here, they come the next year, there's something new to look at. And so that was kind of the idea behind that. We did put in a new entrance sign for Ocean Shores. And if anybody didn't see it going on, it looks almost exactly the same. We hired a sign company that did the same type of sandblasting and stuff. So the sign looks almost identical. And that was to honor the person that did the first sign. First sign was starting to rot. The edges were starting to fall off of it. Posts were going bad. And so we matched the original sign, and it really pops. I think it really looks good out there on that. Convention Center. So everybody sees the new carpet that we got there that we're sitting around. We fixed the soffits. The soffits were really in bad shape, and those all got, this mic really pops. I must be talking too loud. Anyway, the soffits got finished, sandblasted and stuff, and so we preserved a very expensive repair if we didn't get on that right away on that. We put in a new electric sign. That's a digital sign. It can be programmed for advertising here for the convention center. Convention center was busy 225 days last year. So Lee has done an outstanding job booking this place and bringing in events and such. One of his struggles was hotels and the condition of our hotels. We heard from some of the clients that came in here to rent the place, and it's actually cost us, honestly, at least two nice conventions because of the hotel situation we're at. So with that, we contacted the state. State has one inspector for hotels in a 7 or 9 county, 9 county area. So too much for one person to do. So we started doing our own hotel inspections, and the person doing that is Christine. She is an awesome inspector, and she's worked her way around most of the hotels on the west side of Ocean Shores Boulevard. And so we're trying to bring up the quality of our hotels here in town. So that's the reason we went for that. We have a 501c3 that's running our kennel for any stray or lost dogs, and that seems to be going well for us on that. And one of the things that's a little different that Scott and I talked about when I first got here, and Sarah, is I wanted to open up all the public meetings all the meetings to the public. And that's what I'm talking about there is our finance committee meeting was not open to the public. It is now. State auditor, that meeting is also open for the public, and that had not been done before. And we even allowed the public to ask some questions at the auditor's meeting. So we're trying to be as transparent as possible on that. See what else I got. We kind of split this up so you guys didn't have to listen to me talk the whole time on that. One of the things that is really I think is a big compliment for our public works is during all this extreme weather we had this beginning of this winter and such, we had no major flooding. So all the ditches and the culverts and all that stuff was cleaned out. And I can thank Ricky and his crew for doing that on that deal there. Fiber is coming to town, right? They're working on that right now. Another thing that's going to be coming forward is Comcast. So we're going to end up with a Comcast, the Coast Communications and Ripple Fiber. And Ripple Fiber is going to make sure that they have their fiber at every lot in town. So even Coast Communications doesn't go to every place here in the city, but Ripple Fiber will, and they're working on that now, and that's going to be good for consumers. So we're going to end up with 3 different options for the public, and I think that should help with pricing and such. So that'll be a good thing for the public. Cost overruns. So some of this probably has to do with my construction background, but and Becky's been a part of this, but we've been brought extra costs at the end of the job without any pre-signed or agreed change orders. And so we did not pay those. And in the past, at times, those things got pushed through. So we are trying to watch your money for you. And I think that I don't think we'll have any more of those, Becky, huh? I think the word's out that you got to do it right if you want to get paid. So anyway, that's all I'm going to go over right now. We are working on the fire break. That's a big issue. Ecology is the biggest stumbling block for us. And I've had help with Chief Ritter on that. And so we're trying to tag team ecology and get that opened up so we can save. We want to save any property and lives along that sand dune and Ocean Shores Boulevard. And that's it's been a battle. I mean, honestly, with ecology to have them help us out because we got a lot of steps to go through, a lot of hoops to jump through. There's a lot of groups that have a say on what we can and can't do. But we're making some headway, and we don't want to be the next Lahaina, obviously, and that's a real threat out there, and we're on top of that. And so I'm going to have Becky go through projects next. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, thank you for coming. And as Frank mentioned, we have gotten a lot done. When I went to meet with the mayor today and I went over with him what I wanted to discuss tonight, he said, well, what about all the other things? So I added all the things up, and there were over 60 things. So definitely busy in the project and public works department. So I broke this down into infrastructure projects, special projects, and the master plans, money that we saved from grants, which is always great, and then what we're doing right now with our capital facilities projects. So to start, the Arrow Lumber culvert was breaking down to the point of the Arrow Lumber parking lot was caving in, and it is a city-owned culvert, so that was replaced. That was replaced last year, but time goes so fast in my job right now that it feels like it was 5 years ago. So I feel funny talking about these things because it was only last year. The 2 1 million gallon water tanks that we have, the concrete was spalling, which means that it was kind of chipping off of the side, and there was exposed rebar. So those were they were all repaired, and they got all new coatings on the outside. So we're expecting to get lots more life out of those. The golf course bridge sewer main that runs underneath the golf course bridge was rusted out, and we had to change it out before it started leaking into the canals. So that is something that we also did. We replaced, or actually we added, this was an addition to the water treatment plant. It's a reduced pressure backflow assembly, which helps to keep our water safe if there is a pressure issue and something from the plant would maybe backwash into there. So that will negate that possibility. The 2025 bridge inspections showed that the Overlake Bridge needed a new pylon and a cap replaced. So we partnered with WSDOT for that. The berm, phase 1 was when we did, remember, like the first sand part of the berm. And then we had phase 2 and phase 3, which we hired contractors to do. We started with Brumfield and then Northwest Rock. And phase 2 and phase 3 of those, phase 3 also included Peninsula Court and Mariner Court, because we have some street infrastructure that is, there are cul-de-sacs there and they're starting to almost wash away.
Hey, Becky, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
So going to the berms, when I talked about a lot of entities are involved, we had the Corps of Engineers, we had ecology, had the wildlife department. Those 3 right there were some of the stumbling blocks we had. And so unfortunately, we couldn't do an immediate fix. And I know John knows all about that stuff. But so we had to do the sand, then we had to do these sand bags. That's what we were given by the state to do. And then we had to do the small cobble. Now we're to the large cobble, and we're looking to try to get a permanent fix for that. I just wanted to say that. So people have been watching a lot of work out there. That's because that's what we were told we could only do. And so it's unfortunate, but ecology makes you go through a lot of steps, and the wildlife department and the Corps. So anyway, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, it's true. Of course, we do want to have a more permanent solution out there, and we are working. This is in my grant section later, but for the berms phase 2 and phase 3, we received over $1.5 million from the Department of Commerce in grant funds, and that's paid for almost all of phase 2 and phase 3, which is amazing. And we were so grateful to be able to partner with them. We are performing with Moffitt Nickel right now a CTP grant that we were awarded from FEMA, and that is to do a report on the remnant jetty. I think we all feel like the remnant jetty definitely helped prevent some erosion on that south end. And so the plan with this remnant jetty study is that we're going to present it to the Army Corps of Engineers and ecology and the port and all the powers that be to help us resolve the remnant jetty. Back to infrastructure projects. Maybe that's all of them. Yes, that was all of the infrastructure projects that I have on my list today. Um, I call these special projects because they're ones that are near and dear to my heart. The health clinic is slated to open in March, which the city has been asking for years. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for making that happen. So the hospital at this point is working on their staffing and they're getting furnishings in there. There's already some furnishings in there. So it's exciting to see this one happen. And then the South Fire Station also greatly needed for response time to get to the south end. Those of us know that live down there, the amount of ambulances and drivers for the ambulance and medics that could be going out to Aberdeen just can't get to the south end fast enough. So that's going to be a huge improvement. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to staff that in April. The communications equipment is stalled right now because of some contract paperwork, not on our end, but on the contractor's end. So we're following up with that about daily right now. Another one was the tennis court resurfacing and adding pickleball courts to Emerson Park. And the library is going to be checking out pickleball equipment starting in March. And the nets will go back up in the beginning of March as well. The next thing I have is some master plans, which Ricky's going to talk about a couple of other ones, but the cyanobacteria master plan, which is the toxic algae that is in the fresh waterways, that plan was completed late 2025. So this year we're going to be able to work with the Fresh Waterways Advisory Board, who are amazing. Thank you. There's a bunch of you here tonight. And we'll be starting to work and break down that cyanobacteria master plan so that we can start to see some results from getting rid of some of that toxic algae. And this was another fun one because golfers, and do we have any golfers in the audience? Yeah, a few. So if you golf, it's fun. We replaced a lot of the netting and did repairs at the golf course and the netting, the really high nettings. And we'll be doing more repairs too as time goes on because we have some extra netting so we can get on it before the big tears happen. And Scott, did you have anything about the golf course you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, I guess I'm going to kind of audible in and out because I'm just going to cover things where where there's gaps. So the golf course itself, obviously, it's a really important asset to the city of Ocean Shores. We've got hundreds of homes that are on our golf course. It's a major draw for tourism. It's a beautification element for the city, and of course, we have all of our avid golfers that are local as well. As you probably know, this is the backstory. This has been like a multiple year endeavor for 20 plus years. Curtis Zander had a lease for the golf course, and he ran it apart from the city itself, where we just contractually leased it out to him. When Kurt retired, we brought in a management company, and we did an RFQ, and we spoke to several management companies. Two finally applied for the final bid, and it went to Troon. That relationship, suffice to say, it did not work out the way we'd wanted it to work out from a cost perspective, from a transparency perspective. There were just a number of things that went wrong. So we parted ways with Troon at the beginning of the year, or I should say at the end of January. And we are now running the golf course with a local group, and we are going to test this for a year. If this works, it would probably become a full-time city department, much like the convention center, and it would just be run by the city, operated by the city, and no different than the convention center is here. But we have a lot of information that we simply don't have, like how many rounds of golf are actually played, how profitable is this. We'll have the ability to kind of review the financials that we haven't had before. There's a lot of gaps in our knowledge, so we're testing this out. We had a long meeting about the golf course with the team today, moving forward and just getting everything in order. I think it's our hope at the city that this is a really successful relationship, that they're able to make money, and that's the key to keep this thing running. And if that is the case, then we'll look forward to it probably becoming a permanent city department at some point.
Okay, I do have a couple more things to go over. Also under grants, we've worked with Grays Harbor Community Foundation and received 2 grants to upgrade North Bay Park. There was a $5,000 grant for the baseball field and then a $30,000 grant for the baseball field. The high school is going to be using our baseball field for all of their home games, which is pretty exciting. And we're really hoping that now that it's getting all spruced up also, that we'll get Little League teams and things like that again, and maybe parks can become Parks and Recs like it used to be years ago. That would be really cool. We are going to be applying for the RCO grant also to spruce up North Bay Park. That grant is, I think the initial part is due, but don't quote me on this because Tim Hiles, who's our grant writer, and he's amazing, has this date, but I think that is due end of February, early March. And then we're also looking at the Walsdot City Safety Program. So sidewalks is going to start coming up again in discussions at council, which is exciting. And then the last grant that we're looking at that we've applied for is the next round of BRIC funding for the tsunami tower. Our application is 100% done. It would cover construction because the planning phase will be complete from the first round of BRIC grant funding that we got way back in 2018 or 2019 pre-COVID. So we're really hoping that this current BRIC grant is going to be able to be funded going forward. So fingers crossed on that. And if that doesn't happen, we'll always work looking for additional funding. We also get really good grant information from the public. Scott or the mayor or myself, Tim, anybody up here gets emails really from people in the community that said, hey, I saw this grant. Do you want to look into it? We always look into it. So always feel free to send those on to us. Projects that are happening right now or will happen in the near future, just going to go over this list. The Lions Club generator, that is almost done. We just have to plumb the propane tank to the generator, get it going that way. So that is almost done. And then that will serve as one of our warm shelters if the power's out for days and it's cold. It'll be a safe shelter. The skate park is getting new lights. The wastewater treatment plant is getting exterior lighting. The wastewater treatment plant is also getting a head screen, which is a great big screen, almost as long as these 4 first tables here. And it collects all the things that shouldn't go into the rest of the wastewater treatment system. They found all kinds of interesting things on different weekends. We're looking at putting cameras at the Chance Approach bathrooms. We're also talking about cameras at the parks, but the Chance Approach bathrooms would be first because it's going to be easier because we have Wi-Fi infrastructure that can reach there. And I think we're going to wait for fiber for the parks, but we're still talking about that. The wastewater treatment plant has approved in the budget for this year control panel upgrades. I've already said sidewalks. The mayor mentioned the fire break. And then the last thing I have on my list is a pole barn for the public works team. Ocean Shores is growing. We were lucky to get some new equipment this year. We don't have room for some of the old equipment, which is one of the reasons our dump truck our dump truck was definitely needing to be replaced. But this new dump truck, it needs a place to live. So that's just one example of why this pole barn is going to be needed. The last piece I have is the capital facilities plan that we received finished in 2025. We had some what we felt like were insane estimates on that capital facilities plan. So the mayor said, well, what if we hired a carpenter and see what kind of money we can save? I can tell you his position is going to pay for itself times over in this first year. The wastewater treatment generator building, the capital facilities estimate for repairs on that was $39,000. We spent, including labor, $10,000. Yeah, so that's a huge savings right there. The North Bay Park shelter estimate was $10,000. Our cost was $2,200. The fire department generator door replacement, the estimate was $30,000. And we did it for $5,100. So I think it was definitely a good move to hire a carpenter and get our city buildings spruced up.
I'm going to weigh in on that a little bit. So what I was looking at is my experience coming from up in King County is municipalities had contracts with the building trades. And so they could hire skilled labor, have them come down, do the work. And if you run out of work, then they go back to the union hall. And so that was what we were doing with the carpenter. And we have we can get electricians or plumbers too if we need those skilled labor without hiring a contractor, which was a big savings, like Becky said. You're done? All right. Our Public Works Director, Ricky, will go over some of his stuff that he has.
My name is Ricky Victoriano, and I think some of you met me in my previous position as Water Department Crew Chief. In September, I got promoted to the role of Public Works Director for the City of Ocean Shores, and I'd like to share with you guys some of the progress that we've made this year, along with some of the equipment purchases that Council has approved and that have definitely been put to great use for the city. The first one being a grader that we purchased, definitely saving man hours with each use. It's a lot faster, more powerful than the previous one that we had that was, I believe, a 1984 John Deere. It's definitely getting a lot of use already, making training a lot easier with more up-to-date interfaces and ease of use. The sewer jetter that we got, which we actually don't use for the sewer department, it's to clean out culverts for our stormwater. It's brought a whole new set of reliability and storm preparedness for our stormwater crew. The mayor mentioned that, in our flash flooding that we had in December, both rounds, I guess, we were actually able to keep all streets fairly dry compared to the rest of the state. So we purchased a sewer crawler camera that we were able to use for a lot bigger inspections, more in-depth inspections of our gravity main sections. Has a lot more flexibility for crucial infrastructure where we have a lot longer runs without manholes, and we're able to do some more plane maintenance with that. The tilt deck trailer that we replaced has been used for transporting equipment and barriers for events like Hog Wild, as well as traffic control for parades. We just purchased a Kubota mower, should be here by the end of the month, and we're hoping to get ahead with our mowing schedule for this summer. We bought a new, to us, dump truck and replaced Kenworth in our fleet, and that's bringing a whole new set of reliability and saving on delivery of materials, because now this one we can depend on it going out of town and making it back most of the time at least. So our operations, spring cleanup, we're going to be doing that again this year. Typically, it's the last week of April, and we cover a weekend so that people can get in outside of work hours. That date will be released soon. We have a new safety program that we've been revitalizing. Becky kind of started it, and I've been taking over. Our accident prevention program has been updated. Confined space program has been updated. And we've started, along with the accident prevention program being updated, we started doing daily tailgates with each crew. Our oil recycling program runs every Wednesday from noon to 3 p.m., which a lot of people have been getting good use out of. It's just there at the Public Works Yard if you haven't. So noon to 3 p.m. any Wednesday. Green Waste program is going to return this summer, May to September. Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Our Veterans Pocket Park got a bunch of new I believe it was 32 parking spots striped for parking for the High Dune Trail or for the Pocket Park. Our water treatment plant has been piloting a new polymer to target orthophosphate in the water. We have a solid path forward for the pilot filter, and we're waiting on Department of Health approval to make some changes for further testing. Our Oyhut ditch clean out, we actually saved the budget for this project by doing the work in-house. And I think when Rollins did the first clean out, it was about $500,000 that we've been able to save the last 2 years. Our TBD fund, our Transportation Benefit District fund, we've utilized that quite a bit in the last year, along with, so we purchased some new roundabout crossing signs, which actually we just updated once more, if you haven't noticed. And our school zone flashers at the elementary school, as well as some road patches throughout town and repairs. Specifically, I think the roundabout potholes have been the biggest feedback we've gotten. So there was 2 catch basins that were kind of settling out, and we got those fixed. The streets master plan was updated, and we have a plan for transportation benefit district requests for the summer season. Stormwater rate study was finished this year. We also actually, the mayor changed our minimum age for seasonal workers from 18 to 16. So the last two summers, we've been able to employ some ambitious local teens during the busy season out here during the summer. So that's about it for Public Works.
Ricky, can you explain a little more about the water testing we're doing and how that ties to the black slime problem that we have?
Yeah, so the problem that we found was that there was elevated levels of orthophosphate in the drinking water. The Department of Health hasn't determined that there's a health concern there, but we know that that's what causes the black slime. It doesn't cause it anywhere until it's exposed to oxygen, which would be inside the home. The chemical that we're piloting right now is strictly UC 1902, which is just it's a Univar coagulant 1902. It's a high basicity polymer, and that removed the orthophosphate at about 90%, which was pretty much a total removal. What it didn't do was also remove the iron and manganese like our current polymer does. And so what we're trying to do is find a happy medium where we still follow the state guidelines on iron and manganese removal. And then we also do the orthophosphate removal. So right now we just did jar testing in-house a couple weeks back, and we have a path forward with a chemical rate that we want to use. We just have to wait for the Department of Health to approve our project plan change.
Thanks, Ricky.
Mhm.
That's been a long process with testing out different ideas. We had hired a company to help us with that work. And of course, anything that we tested out has to take or has to have approval from the Department of Health. And so it's kind of a slow process, but we think we got the answer on that. So we're now waiting for Department of Health to okay it, and we can get rid of that black slime that some of the people here in town have a problem with. So I can't believe it's been almost 2 years we've been working on this, but things move slow here in the government. Well, thanks, Ricky. I would like to introduce Brian Ritter, our fire chief. Be up next.
I want to start off by thanking everyone for coming. I think this is a testament to transparency and getting the public involved. I've been here 20 years or more. And, in years past, I think we've kind of been on our own islands. And it's really impressive to see the communication and cooperation across all department heads and the mayor and the council. None of this is possible. A lot of what we're talking about on the fire side and citywide without money. And this is extremely stressful to manage. And so I want to give a shout out to the finance department and all the tedious work they've been doing. In the short time I've been fire chief, I'm a thorn in their side. I call them constantly, probably annoy them vigorously, but they always give concise information. I think the leadership team that we have in place right now is absolutely incredible. It's a little disheartening to look at social media and watch the back and forth, because at the end of the day, no matter what side of the aisle we sit on, we are always working for the people no matter what. So I just wanted to start off by saying that. The fire department had a busy year, the busiest year that we've ever had. We ran 3,016 calls last year. We transported 886 people to the hospital. We had 144 walk-in patients. We had 6 confirmed working structure fires. 1 unfortunately was a fatality. 3 chimney fires, 3 mobile home fires, 1 motorhome fire, and 5 dune grass fires. Couple really big purchases that we were blessed to get. We're replacing all of our breathing apparatus. All of our self-contained breathing apparatus and masks and systems were expiring. So we were able to replace all of our new SCBAs and a compressor and update that equipment. We have a new ambulance that is currently being manufactured right now. We work with Braun. If you're ever on I-5 and you look to the left and you see all those ambulances down by the Chehalis area, that's who we do business with. And that should be delivered in October of this year. We had to purchase IV pumps in our paramedic units. The hospital and our new protocols require that we use IV pumps now, and that way we can work closer with the hospital when we get to the ER. It's easier transfer of care. So we got some new IV pumps. Thank goodness for the South End Fire Station. This has been a thorn in my side since I've started here. There's nothing more frustrating when you get a difficulty breathing and you know it's going to take you 8 minutes to get down to someone's house. So I'm really excited about that. One of the things that I talked with the mayor about at length was getting the youth more involved in the fire department. And so we started a cadet program, and we've tried this in years past, and a lot of times it kind of petered out. But we took a new approach this year, and I feel it's been really successful. We not only have kids from our community, but we have kids from Grace Harbor County, Aberdeen, Hoquiam coming in a couple times a month, learning about fire and EMS, and hopefully lighting their fire, if you will, get them excited about a career in fire and EMS. So we were facing a dire situation where we had 7 members leave for other departments, almost simultaneously. And we had to replace 7 positions, which is really difficult to do. Fire and EMS right now, and I'm the police department as well, recruiting is extremely difficult, especially when you're talking about I-5 wages, more resources. So we were able to accomplish that. So we replaced 7 vacant positions, and I will say that the group that we've hired are absolutely tremendous. They're doing a phenomenal job. No issues there at all. We replaced our fire inspector, who's done an incredible amount of work in streamlining our systems and getting things organized for all of our fire inspections. I felt it was important to increase our chaplain and support services. So we've done that, and they're working closely with the police and fire department, not only for the community, but for internally for guys and gals that might be having issues. They come in, they pop in the fire station and visit, and then they help us out on calls. Obviously, people that have passed away or after a structure fire, they kind of bridge the gap after we leave. They stay with the family. We've also formulated a closer relationship with the AVERT team. And this is really important because we don't necessarily have the staff to do a lot of things we want to do, CPR classes and emergency preparedness and all the things that we know that need to be done. And the AVERT team has really come to us, and we've worked really closely with the AVERT team. So now we're offering monthly classes at the fire department that the AVERT team has graciously volunteered to teach. So I believe there's a class on the 22nd, and you should see more on our social media about that. We've increased our number of part paid / volunteer members. We only had 4, and now we have 8. And out of the new members, 3 are now at the fire academy, and 1 of them is an EMT school right now. So that's a 3-month time to get those certifications. So we also worked really closely with Mike Mandela, my former assistant chief, now emergency manager for the city. And we saw a lot of holes in coordinating the entire city staff in what to do in an emergency, not only for the staff, for the general public. So we facilitated some of those meetings. We started planning for 4th of July as a city rather than just the fire department. And that will continue. We're probably going to start our meeting in March because this 4th of July is going to be absolutely crazy. So we're going to get our ducks in a row early and get organized with that. We're also planning right now with the entire county, an active shooter drill that we will be hosting in 2027. It just takes a lot of planning. This will be every law enforcement and fire agency in all of Grays Harbor will be in Ocean Shores. This is a huge undertaking. The helicopter will be involved, Harbor Regional Health. So you may see my Chiefs rig in and out of Aberdeen a lot or here and there, because I think collectively as the fire chiefs now, we know that we're better together and we're coordinating our resources and getting our ducks in a row as far as wildland fire and stuff like that. So there's a lot of meetings that I attend with all the county fire chiefs to coordinate more efficient response. We did help facilitate the purchase of 3 Dolphin water rescue devices with the police department. These are drone remote control devices that will go out to a victim. The victim can hang on, and then the thing will actually tow them back in. So with drone operations in the air and this, we hopefully will make some grabs this summer and prevent the possibility of a drowning. Another huge endeavor that we took on this year was we're rated by the Washington State Rating Bureau for fire rating every 5 years, and they decided to come this year. And there is a lot of tedious work that goes into this, but we were able to get the whole city, a rating of a 5. And down at the south end, it used to be a 9. And where this comes into play for you folks is your fire insurance. So we're at a 5 now as a whole city, south end and north end, which was phenomenally hard and a lot of phone calls and a lot of meetings, but we did it. And we're actually trying to get us down to a 4. We're working right now with the rating bureau, but we are at a 5. So we're working on lowering that to a 4, which if you live at the south end, you might want to call your insurance company and see if your rating of a 5 changes the price you pay for fire protection. So we also took part in a regional fire authority study through ESCI, a consolidation study. What would it look like if we were North Beach County Fire and EMS rather than Ocean Shores Fire and EMS? There is a lot that goes along with this, a lot of relationships, a lot of meetings with other fire districts, and fire districts are run by commissioners. So there's a lot of back and forth, and these things take time. But what we're discovering as a county is, like I said, we need to pool our resources because we're all short. So we also have been working hard with the city and the city on commercial fire protection and occupancy permits through our fire inspector, Andy Mills. And like I said before, he's really getting that streamlined and doing just a fantastic job. And then we also brought in a company to teach a refresher class on shore-based water rescue. Not only do I worry about the ocean, I also worry about our lakes and near drownings in the lakes and things like that. So I have seen a really great improvement in communication with Chief Logan and their officers and the police and fire department coming together and communicating and working really, really, really well together. And that's been amazing. So some of the events really quick that we did this year is we do our open house with the VFW and our community partners. We participated in National Night Out. We went and read to kids for Smokey the Bear at the library. And that was a fun event. We did the Christmas Kids Toy Drive, Turkey Bingo, Easter Egg Hunt, Halloween, Fire Safety Week at the elementary school, and the homecoming parade for North Beach High School.
All right, thanks, Brian. I just want to add one thing. When I first talked to Brian about the cadet program, the concern was retention, because we were hiring people from the I-5 corridor. They seem to get trained up, and then they want to go back home. And so what our hope was, get the kids out of high school, get them involved and see what the fire department's all about, and get them to apply for a firefighter job, and they would stay home and do that work. So that's our hope on that. Next, we got Sarah, our fantastic
You could
finance person.
Okay, so we did, and this is kind of broken record stuff because we say it at finance and at council for anybody that watches that primetime show. We did a big, huge budget project because when I took over, the first time I did the annual report, when we went to go upload our report into the Washington State Auditors program, it gave us like 197 errors. And it was because the city's fund numbers and the fund numbers that we still had in place that we weren't using were no longer recognized by the BARS manual for Washington. So between myself, Shantae Nations, the assistant treasurer, our finance committee, and specifically, we all worked together to work on that revenue and expense budget project, which was removing all of the codes that we no longer use. So that just brought it down, and then reevaluating the ones that needed to change. Along with that, we found, we should be splitting this and adding that. And that's what we'll work on even more as we go for the 2027 budget and this year. We had our B&O tax that was extremely outdated, and people were not paying their B&O tax in the city. We recovered about $80,000 in past B&O taxes that had not been paid. We got 2 clean bills of health from Washington State Auditor's Office for financial and accountability for both, or all 3, the city public facilities district, which is the convention center that you're sitting in, and our transportation benefit district. That's always a nightmare. So that was cool that they said it was good. There's a couple things. There'll be finance, and then there'll be like clerk side of things. We worked with a team to update the council's ethic guidelines, which I know have been contentious in the past. We put it finally as an ordinance, which put it into our municipal code, which the city's never had before. Same with the guidelines the council passed by resolution. That was worked on by a team of volunteers and city staff. The boards, committees, and commissions were treasure trove through our municipal code, and this group had this rule and that group had that rule, and that got worked on, and everybody's in one ordinance. It's a one-stop shop, so there's no questions or concerns if you have questions or concerns, you can look there if you want to be on a board. That's what you have to follow. Like Ricky said, we had not used transportation benefit district money since 2022, and I am like big into a creative accounting and cost sharing, and I understand when they created that, other individuals had this is what we wanted to do with that money, and they didn't do it. And so it sat there. And meanwhile, we've got huge potholes, road striping, the crosswalk lights. And I said, hey, can't we just use that money? Because it's literally sitting there to do these developments. So, and that, to what Chief Ritter was saying, is where all of us are in a room at least twice a day. Hey, can we do this with this money or this project? So to the Public Works Director's point, we started utilizing that money. And the council, in their council financial best practices, still has that our threshold, or bottom line threshold for the general fund, should be at $2.0 million. Somebody will fight me and say it's supposed to be 2.5. They've always agreed that it'll be 2.5, but they've never passed that. But they've ended each year 2.5 or above. This year we ended at 2.7 in the general fund. All of our funds were on point for where they should be percentage wise. We paid off 2 bond debts that we had. So in our budget, you'll see that the city has 4 debts that we pay on annually. 2 of them we opted to just pay off. One was going to pay off. We just did it sooner. The other one wasn't going to pay off until 2026, and we opted to just pay it off and not collect interest on it. A huge change that I think was monumental, and something that's been the bane of my existence since I've been here, is how we process our LTAC funding. And we wanted to be very, very strategic about LTAC funding, given what's going on with the hotels around. And while the council and community were working on the ordinance that kind of gave guidelines to hotels and that we were going to be watching, we wanted to be strategic. And so we worked together. I think we pulled like some crazy number of what everybody else does. We do not have to recreate the wheel here. We were incorporated in 1970. Like there's a bunch of places that have done it bigger and better first. So it happened to be where a lot of it came from the city of Westport, and right down to a reimbursement program. So for every nickel, penny, cent, there's a huge transparency volume that goes into what the committee listens to as an application, checks all their boxes, how the money's then distributed from finance, opposed to just one fat check to whomever got it, and hopefully they pay their bills. So that was a huge, huge accomplishment that goes out to the LTAC committee, finance, the city clerk. What else? We updated. So in the past, we have used Document Center to hold all of our electronic documents. And we moved over to a program called Laserfiche. And what it could do is it did it on a cloud base. So we could just scan everything in the city so that we had backups and they were saved offsite instead of everybody having boxes of records that were for retention that the state would take in 6 years if somebody remembered to fill out the log. So Laserfiche, we had our first big, huge project, which we had help from temp employees that did outstanding in scanning all of our property files. So all of the public records requests that we'd get from realtors or property owners about what's on this property, what has happened on this property, are all electronic and available to the public at all times. With that Document Center, we ran our public records through there, and unlike the rest of Grays Harbor, we get 1,755 records requests here. And so when people would do those, you couldn't see everything. Like if somebody did, I want any and all of Sarah's emails, which good luck, have fun reading. But you couldn't see all of them. So the next person would then have to request. And it was because in Document Center, the search capacity, if you put anything relevant to finance or my name or whatever, it'd bring up anything and everything from the inception of me working here that was on that. So our public records officer worked really, really hard to onboard what's called Next Request. That's where public records go. I don't know how many people have dabbled. Happy to do classes. Normally I'll do a class when we do a new program, but that is really efficient. Name, number, here's all the documents, go ahead. The only thing we don't release, as you can appreciate, is police documentation typically. If it doesn't have anything to do with the city, if there's a victim or domestic violence or anything, we're not going to release that. So we did a revamp on our entire website. We created that website in 2020 and kind of threw something together because the previous one came from Crayola and it was terrible. And so we thought 5 years later, let's see what we could do better. So it was just like some images and videos, and listen to everybody because we get lots of emails. Like Becky was talking about feedback and how we could do it better. We appreciate that because we look at it every day, all day. So we're not very helpful when it's just, what do you mean you can't find it? It's right there. We worked on the sewer rate study and the storm rate study we have to do hard work, but not as much as like figuring out how you're going to get a weed out. But we have to provide all the financials to them, revenue, expenses. And it's not just, here's our revenue expense. There's a lot of talking out about what's happened historically, what we want to happen in the future from a financial perspective and a project perspective. So those took a ton of time. We updated and made more efficient our PO system, and that's all electronically too. So if you've ever read through our purchasing policy, there's all these little stop gaps that you have to go through to get something approved. And it was literally an inner office envelope that just went around the city and you never got it back and somebody got it 4 times. So now it's through a system. So if council approves something and those things always have to be signed off by the mayor, it goes to the mayor, it's approved. Ricky puts in a PO for a of equipment or chemicals or whatever. It just made the whole process a lot more efficient. If you were around for the saga of nightly rentals, we did onboard and are still onboarding what's called Granicus, because we have a lot of illegally operating nightly rentals in Ocean Shores. Illegal, not just in the fact that they might be in the wrong zone, but they're not doing what everybody else is doing. Their business license, they're not paying B&O taxes. They're certainly not paying into transient rentals, which then goes to our LTAC dollars. So that program should be completely running by June. And so what that will do is anybody that is operating, they go and find them, which we had to do all this crazy things like get a credit card and book it. And it was weird to prove that they're operating as an Airbnb, where they go in and do this. And then they help us with all of the compliance stuff, sending the letters. So that'll be huge. One, it'll be compliance. Two, it will be extra LTAC dollars and B&O taxes, which go into the revenue, which is less that we have to ask for from the citizens for things. Like the city administrator said, we're working on the golf course. I had a really bad heartburn when we talked about putting it out for RFP for a lease or a management, because with the lease we had and the management we had, the city never felt confident in what they were talking about. Like we had no way to say financially. I said, I have to see it. I can't. What if it's your neighbor that says, hey, I got the capital, let's go run a golf course, and he doesn't even know what just the employees cost. So that was the big thing. So finance committee will start working on that, on how to make that look in our budget, and of course the community would be a part of it. I work a lot with the convention center, so there was just a few more things. The mayor had said that it was like 256 days or something like that. It's 55,000 people for like the events that they track. The ones they track was 55,000. For the first time, the convention center's operational budget for Sand and Sawdust and Hawk Wild broke even. So we didn't lose. And not only did we not lose, George did such an outstanding job budgeting for revenue and expense on those, that on our operational budget for 2026, we didn't even do the extra monies for the 3 big events that the city does. We just put them as a part of our operational costs. So we actually, for the first time, went to the LTAC and asked for like $100,000 less. So because the revenue on its own is coming in the convention center, which is more that others can, go to LTAC for. Another big thing is we did the 4th of July party in the convention center. That was like a last minute, a week and a half. Like, let's throw if you want to make fire and police really mad, which is like a goal of mine, is like, let's throw a party on 4th of July. Like, that'll be great. And then they roll their eyes and we do it anyway. So we'll do that again this year. A lot more planning will go into it. So it'll be another safe place, because the people are going to come and we're grateful they're here. We just want to make sure there's more safe places for them to go. The other 2 things is the stage, which has been a long time coming, like 10 years coming. It's a beautiful stage that was purchased for all of the events that have music. I don't know if anybody from any of the bands is out there that had to perform last year on the trailer hutch thing. But they took their life into their own hands. And last is, instead of tons and tons and tons of paper, the Ocean Shores Convention Center released the digital visitor information center kiosk out front that everybody can go to, push QR codes, and be on their way throughout Ocean Shores. And I'm sure there's something else, but.
Thank you. That was good. All right, our city administrator, Scott Anderson.
All right, thank you. That was a fire hose of information that you just were doused with. So apologies for that. People are like, what are you doing? I honestly, I can't remember what I did 2 weeks ago with this job, let alone in the last 2 years, because it just, one topic moves to another topic within 6 or 7 times a day. So I know that's a lot of information. So what I was trying to do is just jot down some of the things that came to my mind while they were talking, and I'll elaborate more on some of the things that they said. But just a few items to get out of the way. I'll start with, in no particular order. Our emergency management strategy has changed. We've hired Mike Mandela, as the chief noted, as our emergency management specialist. He is in the process of creating several plans for us that revolve around our highest risk areas in the city. And we've identified these areas as, a potential fire, earthquake, severe weather and inclement weather, tsunami, and massive erosion. So just looking at these things, he's creating plans for all of these, and then the city will practice how we respond to those things if that transpires. And that goes for everything for our landing point. What do we do with public works? What do we do with the equipment? How do we mobilize people? All of those things. But as you know, we are on a sandbar. We are in the Pacific Ocean. We have, as we say, one point of entrance and one point of exit to ocean shores. So we have to take emergency management a little more seriously than most municipalities would, just by the basis of our topography and our geography. Leading into that, we have our airport, and our airport is a funny thing. It's people don't think about it as a passing thought, but as its manager, it's a nightmare. We're always trying to tape one thing together or piece one thing together. Or every time I turn around, there's another form we have to fill out for the FAA or another plan we have to do. It comes on an endless basis. But two things that did come out of this were really positive. I think we had the best airport appreciation day that we've ever had this last time. We got a lot of turnout for the RC Flyers, from pilots coming in. The entire airport was filled. That was great. So we're looking forward to that event coming up again next year. And then we are in the process of trying to get an AWAS system installed at our airport. And I'm not the expert. Richard Cyrus is the expert on it, but I can tell you enough that it will help allow us in inclement weather, or when there's a great deal of cloud cover, to land helicopters in here from Life Flight or others. So in the event of an emergency or an evacuation, whether it's someone who's just seriously injured in a car accident or something like that we need to get out, or there's a more serious real crisis within the city of Ocean Shores, it would allow us to do that. That requires a lot of work with the FAA. It's going to require a number of things, but we're moving forward on attempting to do that. One thing that I noted as I was doing my chicken scratch here is that the mayor did not give himself credit for, but he deserves full credit for it, is code enforcement and the changes that we've made within our code enforcement department. We went to I would call it a kinder, gentler, less badge-friendly approach to code enforcement. We divided the city in half. Sean Beebe still works half of the city, but we brought in Christine Tamirez, who is our code enforcement officer. In the other half, she's also doing the hotel inspections. But it's just, you see a lot of progress with what we're doing in code enforcement. Eventually, that will become a non-badge position entirely, and our code enforcement department will operate with that. But it's just, I think there's a lot more public outreach that's coming. We get a lot of, she's extremely good in the way that she goes about her business. And I think that we're going to see a lot of positive changes from code enforcement in the future.
Just want to say one thing about Christine. She's got such a good rapport with the public out there. So she sees a problem on a property. She goes, knocks on the door, asks them if they could please correct this. And here's the ordinance that says it needs to be done. When they do correct it, she sends them a thank you card. So she's got a really good rapport with the public out there. I just wanted to throw that in.
No. And again, like I said, that's something you should have given yourself credit for, because you're the one who came up with that idea originally, and it's worked really well. Erosion issues, we touched on that basically, what we've had to go through. Everyone's like, why don't you just hard armor the berm down there? Originally, we would have loved to have done that. We couldn't do that. I don't know if anyone's looked at social media at all in the last 2 days about Damon Point. The city administrator cannot reconjure Damon Point. It's not there. If you want to go, what's out there? The Pacific Ocean is out there. It's simply gone. I have some great pictures of it I'd love to show when I did a flight over it recently. And there's really just nothing left out there. You can't get out there. At some point, we are going to pull all that material that's down there away, probably sooner rather than later. We know it's not pleasant to look at, but people who are thinking that they're going to go out there and just walk out to Damon Point are really wrong, unless you can walk on water. It's just not happening. It's a danger. But what we did do worked, in a sense that we were able to save our waterways from being breached by salt water. We were able to save the homes down there. We were able to at least stop erosion from continuing. So as much as it was, ecology told us one thing one day, and then, oh, we need you to take the super sacks out, but you're the ones that gave us the super sacks in the first place. Despite all that progress, we were able to save that. And that also is thanks to Becky and especially Tim, our grant writers, who were able to get us that money, and Marshall, who worked constantly to make sure that that berm was built to fruition. The issue of sidewalks came up again. There's a kind of a backstory. Obviously, sidewalks is something that's been talked about in Ocean Shores forever. We would love to get them down Point Brown. There was an attempt before I was city administrator that was made to do that. It got close. We didn't get over the finish line. I know we would love to get that over the finish line. To that end, we worked in partnership with the University of Washington's Livable City Year program. And that's actually a consortium of universities around the world that focus on built urban environments. We got a consultant at a fraction of the cost that we would have paid to come in and do design work for us. And not just design work, but we looked at things like, where is our actual right of way? Where is the actual layout? How wide would we have to make the sidewalks? What would we have to do with the median? And then what we will look at once we have kind of that in place is what kind of beautification efforts can we make when we lay sidewalks in. But we know that's going to be a major project, a major task. But it's one really that I think of any project I could think of that would benefit the citizens of Ocean Shores, that would make our business district look nicer, that would raise kind of the standard of this community. It's sidewalks to me and everything that comes with that. So we're working forward on it. We're moving forward on it. We're still doing things. We're looking at some of the mechanisms that we do to pay for that. But we know it's going to be more expensive than the last time, and it wasn't cheap the last time. So it's going to be all about getting the grants and the necessary money from the Department of Commerce and from our legislator to make that happen. Some of the things that popped in my head just because people are sitting here, marketing. We took a slightly different approach to marketing. We're kind of re-looking at our whole marketing strategy. We've been collaborating much more closely with the county and with the city of Westport on our marketing efforts. I don't know if any of you saw the Seattle Refined segments or the Evening Magazine segments that we created. We've got a few more of those that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a lot more digital content advertising in the coming year, and we're just going to try to really make a grand marketing strategy sort of for the city within the next 6 to 8 months, something that we're looking at. The permitting office was completely changed. All our permitting is now online. That was not the case before, but if everything you need from a burn permit to any type of permitting that you need to put in, it can all be done online now. And so this is a feature that we simply didn't have 2 years ago, which has really helped move things forward. And it's really streamlined that entire process. Other issues are, there's all kinds of little things. I'm just looking at people in the audience. We've got the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence that's coming up. We're going to be doing some citywide events for that. That is a broad consensus, national, nonpartisan issue where we're going to be having films in the convention center celebrating the Declaration of Independence. The only people who should be offended by that, I guess, are King George fanatics and or Cornwallis supporters. Not sure there's many of those in the room, but there might be one or two suspects. But we look forward to a number of events that there's going to be apple pie baking contests. There's going to be a whole host of things that come with that we look forward to celebrating our independence from. And off the top of my head, I can't think of much more, but there's a lot. Let's just put it that way.
Thank you. I guess we could take questions for a little bit here. We got a mic over there, Nicole.
Hey, in regards to the park out by the airport that you're going to take care of so that the kids can start using it again for softball, baseball. I was driving around town with Kristen Hartman when we were trying to find an ideal spot for the dog park. And that was one of the areas we looked at. And when we went out there, it had a horrendous problem with the goat thorns. So is that going to be taken into account when you look into fixing the park, is getting rid of those thorns? Because the kids ain't going to want to play in that.
The goat heads is a major issue in almost all of our parks at this point, and they're really hard to get rid of unless you burn them. We've tried different applications with different applicators, and nothing helps. And we can't go in with torches and burn them all out. So we're looking for another avenue. No, exactly. We're looking for another avenue.
I might do
Because
it, though.
because I don't feel like we've exhausted all the resources to take it to that level that we wouldn't take it to. And I agree that North Bay Park is a great place for a dog park. That's the most amazing park in Ocean Shores for sure. But yes, we will continue to work on the goat heads.
Okay. I know there was goat heads at Chinook too, but Beacon was able to take care of that for the dog park that went in there. No?
No, there's still some goat
They
heads
still
in
got-
there.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
too bad.
I know.
But if we can get that park up to snuff, you could open that thing up to North Bay for all the kids to have tournaments and stuff, and
Yeah.
even adult softball tournaments. I played for 20 years for my company, and one of our best tournaments was at Long Beach.
I think I know somebody else who would like to do an adult tournament sitting at this table.
Oh, I would love to see that, and it would be a huge moneymaker for the city too to bring those tournaments in here.
Yeah. So what we have actually right now for goat head removal is if you keep them green and hydrated, they don't spread. They seed when they start to die, and that's the only time that we can actually use. We have a roller. It's pretty much a big felt carpet on a drum, and you use that to pick up all the dead ones so that they don't seed and spread. And so that's what we've been able to do to keep them at bay as much as we can. The only other thing on top of that is just irrigating as much as we can through the summer.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just have a comment. One of the core beliefs that I have personally for a city government is that taxpayer money matters. And I can honestly say that in the 12 years I've lived here, this is the first administration that upholds that core belief in me that my money matters to you guys. And I appreciate the heck out of you. Thank you.
I hope there's going to be homemade ice cream on 4th of July. I just have a question about updating on the Shiloh Inn. What's going on with that?
Who wants to take that? Nobody?
So,
Yeah.
there's public records. So you're not allowed to not pay your utilities in Ocean Shores. And the thing that our municipal code says is there can't, once it hits 4 months, it's a lien. Well, unfortunately for commercial properties who are billed monthly, we have to wait 4 consecutive months to put that lien in. And in August, I went pretty hard at them because that, to Rick's point, is your money. Like if that person's not paying, that's $25,000, $35,000, $40,000 that isn't going into our revenue stream that we've budgeted for. And so in August, that was a big part. And that's when we had called the state because there was, when we had, drove in the parking lot, there was notices on their propane tanks and permitting issues and whatever. And so I knew it was coming up, and coincidentally, we had passed that hotel ordinance, and coincidentally, Christine had made her way down to the Shiloh from starting at, what is that one? Best Western? What's that one? Days Inn, the Lighthouse, something. Anyway, so it all kind of happened at the same time, and at that point, their property tax information is open to the public, LID issues, utility issues, and it was like, this just can't continue. And when the inspection report was given to me, I was horrified. And all while, like I said, I worked with the convention center nonstop, and that is one of the biggest things where we lose. I would rather the city of Ocean Shores lose an event because we don't have the capacity to hold people than people coming here and going, why did I go to Ocean Shores? That was the most horrifying and disgusting thing I'd ever done. And so I think that was the big part, is that it was really heartbreaking to come and volunteer for these events, and that be the continued rhetoric to George that, you know, we've got a building closed down, or floors and rooms closed down for bed bugs and sheet issues and whatever. The reports online, you can see it. But anyway, so that's where it stands. The last thing that I was made aware of is that equipment was being removed out of the building because they are not operating. The employees have officially been let go after about a month and a half of not being paid anyway. And that's where that lies. The city is owed an enormous amount of money on the LIDs and the utilities, and the county is owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. But they have made bankruptcy a sport, and so there's not too much collection we can do.
Well, what we did do though is contacted L&I so they could get on top of the wages that the workers had been cheated out of, basically. So we're hoping to get them healed up and get their wages for them.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that I don't know how many of you have read the articles in the paper about it, but this is not just an Ocean Shores phenomena. I keep seeing this as the Ocean Shores Shiloh. You know, what's Ocean Shores going to do? Almost every Shiloh-owned hotel is going through this exact crisis up and down the coast. So it's not like it's the Ocean Shores Shiloh that just dropped off the face of the earth. They've been forced to sell some of their hotels. They're in bankruptcy. There's a number of cities that are going through this, and it's a painful thing because it's obviously the one that's right next to the convention center, and for years was our flagship hotel.
Any other questions? Hang on, it's coming.
Mine's not so much a question, but I'd like to praise the city. 4 years ago, on a Thursday afternoon, I discovered a dead deer in my yard around 4 p.m. And I called the Ocean Shores non-emergency number, and they said, call Fish and Wildlife. And on the third call to Fish and Wildlife, they told me to consider burying it in my yard. I'm not kidding. Anyway, this afternoon about 2 o'clock, eventually I discovered it on Thursday. The deer was picked up Monday morning, and I appreciate the city doing that. This afternoon around 2 o'clock, I discovered a dead deer, and it was picked up at 3:15. So big improvement, and I didn't have to talk to the people at Fish and Wildlife. So thank you, everyone that made that possible.
All right, we have any other questions out there?
This may be a little bad information on my part, but I was getting alert messages about these meetings and everything. And I thought that you guys were also going to touch on this sanctuary city thing that's popping up everywhere. Now, I click on the links now and they're dead. There's no information there. So was that transferred over to next Monday's deal, or what happened there?
The 23rd was what has been scheduled for the sanctuary city discussion.
And so those links are, so when we put out an alert, if we have to change that alert for any reason, that link that you get sent to your email or your text message will go dead. So we had this meeting that had to go out in a way, and then Ricky kept breaking water lines all weekend long. So so it really, we have to sit down and kind of like think about how we get that out there on the website more. Our alert, what do we put where? Because it did get very confusing because we were trying to get the information out about this, but specifically for the council's meeting on the sanctuary city, so people knew. And then Ricky would just break another water line. So it got dicey there for a second, but it will go dead once we remove the alert at any time.
All right. Yeah. Any other questions? No questions? Oh, up here.
Oh, Judy, wait.
Would you wait for the mic, Judy?
So if we have a dead deer in our yard, then we call the gentleman here that already knows what the go-to place is, or we just bury it in his yard.
If you see a dead deer, the street department's phone number is 360-289-2824, and they'll get someone out there to take care of it. Street department.
But Judy, give the phone to Connie and then it'll be fine.
All right,
That is something though that we
got one
do,
over here.
because all of us do talk on a regular basis. So a lot of things come from, hey, did you see that the light pole is down while I've been at a bar at the roundabout, Ricky? And then here comes Ricky's crew. So we do see those things and try and somebody's calling somebody.
360-289-2824.
I know I had a dead deer die in my yard, and I called them up to take it away. And they said, just like they told Jeff, he says, well, you can drag it out to the street and call the state patrol. I says, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, then he says, well, just dig a hole and bury it. So first comment I had was, well, call 911 before I do that. And you go, what for? Because I'm going to have a heart attack digging that hole.
All right, we got any more questions?
I don't have a question. I'm just doing a public service. So for the gentleman that was asking about the meeting, there's also a calendar on the city webpage that always has all the meetings listed there, so you don't have to wait for the alerts to look at them.
All right, well, I think that's it. I wanted to thank everybody for coming. Appreciate all of you, and we'll see you, probably most of you here on Monday.
Yeah.